Yeah.
Well, good morning everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Alfamel Fatimu from SMA Negeri 1 Banjarnegara, and today I'm participating in NSDC 2026 as the opposition team. While today's motions is this House would actively push for the transition towards a cashless society. But first of all, I would like to define the definition of today's motion. So, a cashless society is a condition where people or a society starts to move from physical money as known as cash to a digital payment such as debit or credit card, e-wallet, bank transfer, or even in Indonesia, it's very common to use the kris in their daily lives. This means that people are starting to leave the cash towards cashless payment method so that in the future there is no more cash. While the meaning of today's motion is the House would push the transition and support, encourage, and also accelerate the gradual movement from cash to cashless payment method. So they will not just allowing the change naturally, but also deliberate to promote it, like limiting cash transactions and then expanding the QR or payment infrastructure or integrating the digital banking system. Well, this motion can lead to several problems from many points of views, especially from social, psychological, and also economical. Now let's move to the first argument. It is a cashless society deepens the inequality between societies. So we can see the fact that Indonesia nowadays there is a lot of groups who cannot access the digital financial systems due to their limitations. So now there is many people are lack of smartphones and then lack to stable internet access, and then not everyone is digitally literate, and there is also a lot of groups who don't even have a bank account. So we can see that this will affect to several groups, especially for elderly people and then low income citizens or informal workers. For a real example, there is a lot of cases, especially in Indonesia, where people started to conflict because they cannot pay with cash. For instance, there is a case in Jakarta around December 2025 where there is an elder people with staff of Rotio in Jakarta. They have a conflict because the elder people cannot pay with cash. So the staff is refusing the cash payment method and just providing a cashless payment method, while the elder people don't have the platform to pay digitally. So this is some of real examples, like what will be happen if the government is really will exclude the cash payment method from daily lives. So it'll really affect some vulnerable groups and they will become economically excluded even from basic transactions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now let's move to the second argument. So the cash could protect the financial freedom and privacy of every people. So the cash allows people to transact freely without being monitored by the government or by the platforms that provide the digital payment system. So the digital transactions usually create data trails about what you buy, where you go, how much you spend for in a specific day, and then they can also track how much your money is right now. So the government or the corporations can take the consumer's data, they can monitor it, and then they also have access to know your daily activities by tracking your data from your digital payment. So the cash gives individuals autonomy and the freedom and also the cash would give anonymity for people to use their money without being tracked by the government or the platforms. And then so this is not just about a payment method, but also about the civil liberty issue. Because if all transactions become digital, the citizens will become completely dependent on institutions to access their own money. And now, the third argument, a fully cashless society makes the economy more vulnerable to technological failures and cyber threats. So for example, when all transactions are depending on digital infrastructure, when there is a disruption such as a server outage or cyber attacks, and then electricity blackouts or even internet failures, it can immediately stop the economical activities in countries. So without cash as a backup for the payment methods, citizens may lose their access to essential goods and services during emergencies. For real examples, like nowadays there is a lot of war in several countries, and if they are really depending on digital payments, they will lose the access to essential goods, to services when they're in emergency, because when there is a war, usually the internet is also down. So beyond that, the over-dependence on digital payments can create threats to economic resilience and create a risky system for a society. And then the last argument, a cashless society encourages impulsive spending and increases debt among people. So this is the point of view from the psychological side. So the fact that digital transactions can psychologically reduce people's awareness of spending, because money is no longer physically visible. So it can affect their psychology, that they'll think that it is not a big problem to buy anything because they use the digital payment method. So as a result, people would easily fulfill all of their desires without thinking twice. That of course can lead to overconsumptive behaviors. And then this problem becomes even more high due to the BNPL, or buy now pay later services. And as time goes by, of course, it'll affect the culture among societies, when their saving culture will slowly decrease. So as a conclusion of today's motion, I strongly disagree with the motion of today, because the government should not push for the transaction towards a cashless society only. The cashless payment method is not a problem as long as the government still protecting the presence of cash or physical money in their daily lives. So that is my argument for today.